Colossians chapter number 1. We've got Colossians chapter 1 open in front of us. Last week, if you were with us, you'll remember we did a syntax diagram of Colossians chapter 1 from verse 1 through to verse 8, where we found the end of the sentence. Our text obviously started off like this, which we just got from SBL Greek. And we're going to continue the same syntax diagram from verse 9. I find that doing these syntax diagrams not only helps me understand the text better, but it also helps me to keep my Greek. It helps me to wrestle with the meaning, the semantics, and how different parts are related to each other. So join me if you want. I'm doing this mainly for my own benefit, but I really, really appreciate any of your participation and your company along with me as we go through Colossians. Colossians chapter 1, verse 9. I do have open up also Logos. Logos helps me also to find words that I don't know. At the moment, I've got a filter on here, which has got corresponding highlights. Actually, its corresponding highlights are not on. This other filter that I do have on here is just to help me. It's a visual filter, which I've said is a Greek syntax visual filter. And it's helping me to see where main verbs and where participles are, where subjunctive verbs are. And that's really how I recognize the verbs here. All right, let's get stuck into Colossians 1, verse number 9. Okay, because of this also you, I believe that is you who may, also we, sorry. Because of this also we, so this is where our prepositional phrase ends, also we, this is a new prepositional phrase, from which day we heard. So let's close the prepositional phrase there. This is a main verb, which I like to do in bold and also in red. Okay, I'm just going to copy the style because I'm going to use this later on. Okay, also just to give us a full screen, going to put this into focus mode. All right, because of this also we, let's put this on a new line as well. Also we, from which day we heard. Now, I'm assuming that this main verb is still attached to this relative pronoun, which I like to do underlining relative pronouns because they are important. But it's from which day what? Which day we heard. From which day we heard. Akusamen pao othamai. From the verb pao, which pao means stopped. So I stopped. Pao means I stopped. Pao uthamai, which is middle. We have not, there's negated. We have not stopped. On behalf is a prepositional phrase. Behalf of you. Prosyuchemenoi. This is praying. Let's paste the style, but change it. We need a participle style there. And we also need a participle style here, because these are two participles. Let's put them on a new line. Hina normally announces that we're going to have a subjunctive verb following. And so this is where we can see the subjunctive ending here. Play-ro-theta. This needs to be bold, and I like to make these blue to stand out from the main verbs because they are subjunctives, and subjunctives are very important semantically in order that you may be filled. Tein epignosken. Be filled with what? This is the content, with knowledge of the will of him. Knowledge of the will of him. He has an open brackets for a preposition in all wisdom and sunese is this insight. Let's have a look at logos. Yep, that's insight. That is insight. So with all insight, spiritual insight. We're going to close that preposition phrase we opened up there. And we have a comma and a new verse, which I'll put on a new line. And I'll come back to that because first what I want to do a little bit is just get this section syntaxed properly in terms of its coordination or subordination to other parts of the sentence. Okay, because of this, certainly that is going to move alongside. Also, we what? Well, for the time when this is happening, also we what? During this time, from the day which we heard. From which day we heard. I'm leaving that main verb on the same line because of this relative pronoun. All right, from which day we're the subject of this sentence. We what? There is the verb which includes them. We have not stopped. We have not stopped doing what? Well, not stopped on behalf of you, praying. So this is a prepositional phrase modifying what follows. We have not stopped on behalf of you, praying and asking. These are two very similar, but because of the kai there, I'm going to put those two on a separate line. They are coordinate with each other. But there are two different actions, and the two actions themselves are very similar, praying and asking. Asking what? Asking in order that, or asking that you may be filled with the knowledge and will of him. How? In every wisdom, or with every wisdom and spiritual insight. Brilliant. So we come back here. I'm going to take that line away. Here we have an infinitive. I can recognize the infinitive, which is indicating purpose, right? Peripatesai. This is to walk. To walk. In order that you may be filled with this knowledge, to walk, really, or to live worthy of the Lord in, open a new prepositional phrase here. So let's put that there. In all ariskeian. I don't know what ariskeian is, but I can see a new prepositional phrase here. I'm going to close this one here, and then I'm going to go and look at what this word will be in Logos. Ariskeion. Let's go and find ariskeion here. Where is my infinitive? There's the infinitive. So there's ariskeion here. What does it mean? Pleasing. Ariskeion means pleasing. In fact, it's only used here in this sentence. This is a hapax legomenon. So it means pleasing. Ariskeion. Let's go back here. What we're going to do is actually put in a footnote here. Pleasing. This is hapax legomenon. All right. Brilliant. In all things pleasing, in all works, let's put this on a new line, in all good works, or all works good, this is a participle, carboforuntes, kai auxamenoi. This is again is a participle, and okay. In all good works, bearing fruit in all good works, and let's put this on a new line. Okay, so this actually needs to also be on a good line, a new line. In all good work, in all things, bearing fruit, and growing in the knowledge of God. Put this on the new line. In all power, being strengthened. I think that's what it means. Let's go to Logos and see. In all power, what does this mean? Yeah, make strong. It's only used twice in the New Testament. In all power, dunamao, to make strong. Here's another prepositional phrase. Put that coordinate for now. Katatokratos tes doxes are two. Eis opens a new prepositional phrase. All right, kratos, in all power of the glory of him. That's interesting, hey, in all the power of the glory of him. Into all hupomone, patience, kai. Hupomone and makrothumion are very similar words. This is a prepositional phrase. And with joy, charas, or with grace actually. Let me get this new verse onto a new line and actually give us some space to think here a little bit. Pason huponon. Okay, this needs to close here because this is accusative, this is accusative, and this is accusative. So that is one prepositional phrase, which means meta charis is on a new phrase. All right, let's try and figure out how these phrases are relating to one another and what is the meaning of it. In order that you may be filled with the knowledge and of the will of him, in every wisdom and insight spiritual, in every spiritual wisdom and insight, to walk worthy of the Lord in all things pleasing towards or for all things. This is towards or for, towards all things pleasing in every good work, bearing fruit. Carpo foruntes. I'm almost sure we had this verb earlier on. Let's just quickly have a look. Where is this carpo foruntes? There it is. And I just want to go back, and indeed we do. Look at this. In fact, we've got the same phrase here. We've got the same phrase. Let's go back to our syntax diagram. This actually is worth highlighting in some way because this actually is interesting. Here we go. Carpo foriumenon kai auxamenon. In verse 6 here, what we were looking at is how the hope was proclaimed beforehand in the word of the gospel. And this gospel was bearing fruit and growing in all the world. Now, if we go back down to verse number 10, what Paul is saying, we've not stopped praying and asking that you may be filled with the knowledge of the will of God in every wisdom and insight spiritual, so that you may walk, or to walk worthy of the Lord. What does that look like? Well, bearing fruit and growing. Growing what? In the knowledge of God. We got knowledge here. So in order that you may be filled with the knowledge of the will of him, and that you may grow, you need to grow in the knowledge of God himself. As we grow in the knowledge of God, I suppose we also grow in the knowledge of his will. That's brilliant. In all power being strengthened. Let me close this here. Oh, this word here is interesting. Bearing fruit and growing. Ah, I see. This is why the kai is important here. These are two different phrases. They're not the same. You're bearing fruit in every good work, and the second thing you're doing is growing in the knowledge of God. And now we have a third thing. We are being strengthened. We're being strengthened in the power, in the might, in the dunome, in the dunamis. This is wonderful. Being strengthened in the power, according to the power of the glory of him. Now, this is interesting. So we got, let me put that there, according to the power of the glory of him in every patience and endurance with grace. Wow. Wow, 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 wow. We have to come back to this, and the syntax diagram is going to help us with this. This is exciting, man. I just love this. I just love this. I don't know about you guys, but this is awesome. Here I am. I'm trying to figure out my Greek. And at the same time, I am being astounded by God's word. All right, so I put the space in here just to give me space as I was working with these phrases. But let's continue in verse 12. All right, Eucharistuntes. This is a participle. Eucharistuntes to patri to hikanos santi humas. This is insane. Hikanos, sufficient. Let's check what Glogos says. Hikano santi. Here it is. To qualify, to make sufficient. Only used twice in the New Testament. Has made sufficient. It's a participle. Eucharistuntes to patri to hikano santi humas. Tein medri. Here is a new prepositional phrase. Tein merida to kleiru ton hagion in to photi, in the light. I can at least recognize that. Let's put verse 13 down here, and let's try and figure out verse 12. Eucharistuntes. This is the participle itself. And I just coordinate that with what is happening here. Eucharistuntes, giving thanks to the Father, the one qualifying us, or the one making us sufficient. Okay, He's qualified us in the meride to kleiru ton hagion. I believe, I'm going to take a chance here, meride is towards is the prepositional phrase, towards the meride, the share of the inheritance of the saints is what I'm assuming it is. I'm going to Logos to check. Into or for the share or the portion of the inheritance. I am right. Thank you, Logos, for helping me out with that. Okay. So the one actually who has qualified us, in fact, here, because this is acting adjectively, I am going to put it on a new line. And I'm going to indicate it's there because this prepositional phrase is linked specifically to this qualifying or making sufficient. He's made us, qualified us for what? For a share of the inheritance of the saints in all, or in the light. Okay, so that again is qualifying that. I'm going to take away that arrow. And that means we should be able to close this prepositional phrase here into the share of the inheritance of the saints or the holy ones. I need to subordinate this to this. The inheritance of the saints in the light. In the light. Now, as you can see semantically, this actually is saying that the light is modifying the saints. So the saints in the light. It's not being justified, or made worthy in the light or by the light. And we could actually come back and argue whether or not this should be modifying this particular phrase. Because I think that actually could really, really be the way that we are. The way that we are made sufficient or qualified is by the light. It is possible. It is possible. But I'm not going to argue with that now. My decision is that this is modifying the saints. So these are the saints in the light. Let's continue. We might come back to this later. We still haven't come to a full stop in the sentence because we're still talking about what Paul and Timothy have not stopped doing. They have not stopped thanking and asking. And they have not stopped asking that these guys, the Colossians, be filled with the knowledge of the will of God. And that's how they are to be filled, and this is why. And so we're still coming down through the why, so that they may be bearing fruit, that they may be growing in the knowledge of God and being strengthened, and also giving thanks. Giving thanks to the Father. Okay, so this is all speaking about the you, so that you may be filled, and then so that you may be bearing fruit, so that you may be growing, and so that you may be being strengthened, that you may be... Oh, hang on, I'm just seeing something quickly. These prepositional phrases need to be indented. Let's just indent them now, because they can't be coordinate with these participles that they are modifying. We just don't know which one. Let's see. In all patience and endurance, makrothumia is patience, and hupomone is endurance with grace. So, being strengthened, it seems here, we're strengthened according to the might of his glory in other words, for every endurance. We need strength for endurance and patience with grace. We need that. That's brilliant. So, in fact, I am going to just indicate that these prepositional phrases are all modifying this participle. This participle, now giving thanks, is what we've dealt with. We're giving thanks to the Father. Which Father? Well, the Father who has qualified us, into or for the share of the inheritance of the saints who are in light. Who, now we have a relative pronoun. We are asking ourselves, who does this refer back to? I'll put up a little arrow here so that we know that we need to find the antecedent. Who's the antecedent of this? Who erosato. Erosato is an indicative verb. I know that. I don't know what it means. Erosato. Let's go to Logos and see. Erosato. Erosato. Ruomai. Rescue or deliver. Ruomai. Ruomai. This obviously is aorist. Aorist middle. Or aorist passive, third person singular. Aorist passive, third person singular. So this is a third person singular. The subject of this verb is third person singular, just as this relative pronoun tells me I'm looking for somebody third person singular, not plural. So the saints are plural, so it can't be them, which obviously means this again is referring to the Father, the one who made us sufficient. So let us indent that to indicate it. Who rescued us. This is a prepositional phrase here. Let's just get verse 14 down and give me a space so I can work with something. From the exousias, the authority of darkness, and metastasin. So he's done two things. He has done two things. So we have to actually indicate the two things like this, putting that here. And this one is going to be the second thing. And this is going to relate to the first thing. He has rescued us from the authority of darkness and metastasin. Histemi is to stand. Metistemi is to, could I say establish? Let's go and have a look. Metistasin. Metistasin is to remove. Metistasin, to remove, to turn away. Transfer. There's only one, and it seems that's our verse. He has transferred He's removed is another way we can use, and metistemi is transfer, to turn away or remove. Transfer, okay. And metastase, he's transferred or removed. Let's get this prepositional phrase starting here. Into or towards the basileon, the kingdom, of his son, of his love. The son of his love. Oh, that's beautiful. In fact, I'm just going to put this here so that we can see it's modifying and subordinate to this phrase, which is actually there. Oh, wow, this is beautiful. He has, this would probably be transferred because he's rescued from the authority of darkness, and then he has transferred or removed us into the kingdom. So metastasen, with the prepositional phrase towards or to, that must imply that this is transferred into the kingdom, removed into the kingdom. So you've been transferred, removed from one place, put into another place. You've been transferred into the kingdom of his son. Okay, let us come back to the beginning of verse 14. I'm going to put verse 15 down here so we can work with verse 14 on its own. That's a prepositional phrase. In whom what? Let's close with the prepositional phrase here. In whom we have apolutrosen. What a beautiful word. I believe this is redemption. Apolutrosen, or atonement. Let's go and see Logos 14. Apolutrosen, yeah, redemption. It's a beautiful word. Brilliant. The aphasen tone, hamartion. Oh, beautiful words. I tell you, these are just such beautiful words. Okay, so in whom, obviously referring to the Son. The Son of him, in whom we have what? We have redemption, which is the forgiveness of sins, which is why I've indented this to show that it is subordinate to this. Brilliant. So we've come to end of verse 14, but we're not yet at a place where we can stop this because we have another relative pronoun here. Let's quickly see. This relative pronoun, I'm going to just quickly take verse 16 and again give me some space. And I'm going to remove the space that I created there, who is a kainon to theo to aoratu protokos pase kriseos. Okay, who? Now, who is this? Obviously, coming back now to the Son. Man alive, the Son, who is the icon, the image of God, of the aoratu. I don't know what aoratu is. Or aratu. What is this? Please, Logos, tell me. Invisible. Oratos. Orao is to see. Oratos must be visible. Aoratos is invisible. Okay, the aoratu. Protokos pasan, firstborn. Firstborn of all. Firstborn of all creation. Is really what this is saying. Okay. Hoti. Hoti is also an important conjunction which says because. We have a prepositional phrase in him. Ektiste. This looks to me like a passive verb. Ektiste. I think ektithemi Let's have a look at what Logos says about that. 16. Ekti. It is aorist passive. Create. Ktizo. Ktizo means create or to found. Okay, so passive. In him has been created all things. In him, okay, this is singular, so all things have been created. In him or by him. In is a new prepositional phrase. In the heavens and upon the earth. Okay, in the heavens and upon the earth is another prepositional phrase, and upon the earth. Let's close it up. The orata, there we go. This verb or this word, look at this, invisible and visible. Okay, so we just had that verb just now, and that verb was, here we go, the invisible God, and here we got it here again. We got a comma, the visible and the invisible. Aite. So aite tronoi are either thrones, either lords. Let me put this down into a new line. And the aite, I think all these aites I'm going to put onto a new line just so that we can see where they're at. I like to do this visually. There is punctuation, which is going to be the reason why I changed this. And then I'm just going to take this and put that on a new line. So I can work with verse 16 on its own. And remember, it's verse 16 has started off with this, because in him all things have been created. Now, these things created, in fact, what I'm going to do here, I'm going to take this and indent that. Let's just see where this is going to be, because in him all things have been created. So let's just go back. Let's go back, because this relative pronoun was modifying the Father, okay, giving thanks to the Father. Who did what? Who rescued us and transferred us. He rescued us and transferred us, okay, into the kingdom of his Son, of his love, in whom we have redemption, which is the forgiveness of sins, that's the Son, who is the image of God, the invisible God. He's the firstborn of creation. I like this. So in other words, this hoti, because actually is modifying this creation. The firstborn of creation, because he's the firstborn of creation, because in him all things were created. Now I can see that this page is going to run out of margin here for what I need to do with the rest of this, because this now is subordinate to all things, because it's modifying all things. I'm going to just indent this entire verse up to here. And let's just see what we got going here. All things in heaven and on earth. All things in heaven and on earth. Let's indent this further, because that makes more sense. The visible and the invisible, where the thrones are kuriotetes. This is kurios is Lord, rulers is what I would say. Kuriotetes is a participle. Let's indicate that. Kuriotetes, kai archai, rulers. I'm going to go to Logos quickly and see kuriotetes. 16, kuriotetes is dominion. So they are dominions, kuriotes. And it's not a, so let's go. Okay, kuriotetes is not Kriotetos is dominion. So I need to put in a footnote because I didn't know that. This is dominion. Dominions. And rulers or authorities, all things through him and for him. Oh, I like that. Ektistai. This looks to me to be infinitive. Let's just go and see logos to confirm whether or not that is infinitive. No, it's not. It is actually indicative. It's to create, and it is third person passive indicative. Estai, that's right. It is passive, so all things were created. In him, all things were created. Oh, he created all things through him and to him or for him. Oh my word, that is beautiful. All things were created for him and to him. I'm out of space here, so I need more margins on my side. I need more margins towards the side. This is brilliant. Now, I see a full stop here, so I'm going to just close that there. We can't go that far today. Guys, we can't go that far today. This video is going to become too long. I'm going to stop this video right here and give myself a little bit more margins, and then we're going to actually just work through what we have. We know that the syntax is still growing, but we have to stop here. All right, stopping.